Welcome to today's session on exploring career paths, hosted by Blake Farrell from our Meadowbrook branch. Whether you are switching careers or just getting started on this journey, finding the right kind of job can be a challenging step in your path to career success. And the library is here to help. I'm going to hand it over to Blake to show you the tools and resources we have to help you find the right career path, introduce our new JobNow service available to all Fort Worth Library cardholders. And if you have questions during the presentation, you can put those questions in the chat and we will get to them at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Blake.
All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you very much. Like Jennifer told you, my name is Blake Farrell. I'm a library assistant at the Meadowbrook branch of the Fort Worth Public Library System. I was asked to do this presentation, and without any further ado, I just want to go ahead and get started into it because I don't want to keep everybody too long, but there's a lot of information. One thing Jennifer didn't mention is that this is going to be recorded. So if you want to access it sometime later, if you're not familiar with it, you should get familiar with our YouTube channel on YouTube. Just search for the Fort Worth Library on YouTube, and you should be able to access all of these videos. So let me go ahead and get started. Some of the things that you might be thinking about when you start looking at the different careers that are out there, you might be at a different position. All right, so everybody's going to be at a different level here. You may not have a job at all. You could have a job, but you want to start a new career path. You have a career, but maybe you're not as satisfied as you want to be in that career. So you want to move up within the organization or out into something new. Something I'm familiar with, you had a career, so you have a full and satisfying career, 20, 30 years in a particular field, but now you're moving on and you want to start something completely new. What you'll hopefully get out of this presentation, an understanding of your current situation and what career paths are available to you, information about the steps necessary to start on those career paths. We're going to give you a list of tools and services available to you through the Fort Worth Public Library that can assist you. And especially, I'm going to concentrate on one of our newer services, JobNow. You'll get more information about self-assessments and career assessments, and hopefully you'll get a little boost of confidence. Remember, knowledge is power. Knowing yourself, knowing the jobs that are out there and your strengths and maybe some of your challenges that you might have. This is all useful information that you can use to help you make these decisions. The JobNow tool that I'm going to show you about is very useful, very dynamic. You can use it at any point in this process. So I'm going to show you some of the things that they have available to you. Now I'm going to start with talking about a career plan. And why would we need a plan? Any good house painter will tell you that you're going to spend a lot of time preparing to paint, probably more time preparing than you actually do painting. You got to pick out the paint colors, pick out how much paint you're going to need. You have to tape and bed, fixing all the cracks and filling in holes. You've got to tape around the outlets and the windows. All of that gets done before you actually start painting so that you don't have an inferior result. So we're going to take that same philosophy and put it toward your career plan. If you were to plan your future with that same attention to detail, that action plan that you follow through on, you can only succeed. So a good plan always starts with research, and the libraries are really great for that, okay? You find out about yourself, find out about the jobs that are out there that you might be interested in or that align well with your skills. Researching career paths that are of interest to you. And then you want to research those entities that might be hiring. Really big important point here, stay open to new ideas and consider all your options because you want to go into a career with your eyes open and you want to make sure that you succeed. So is a plan mandatory? No, it's your career path, all right? But I promise you that it will help you make good informed decisions early on in the process. It'll also help you stay on target as you work through the ins and outs of choosing a career. So as you go through and you set yourself smaller goals along the way, you can go back to your career plan, especially if you've got it written down somewhere. You can go back to that plan and check them off as you go. Realign things as information comes in that changes your mind. For many people, just thinking about doing something isn't quite the same thing as doing it. All right. So sometimes if we write things down, get a special journal or something that is specific for this particular topic. If you write it down, it makes it more permanent and it makes it more personal. It's your plan and you're the one that's going to make sure you follow it. The really good thing about setting goals, so you want to set a goal, and it can be a simple goal, something as simple as I want a better job, all right? Or it could be much more detailed, especially after you've done some of your research. In this example, I've said, I want a job in a Fortune 500 company where I work with a professional team and help streamline online ordering processes. Okay, that's very specific. This is what you've decided you want to do with your career. So setting that goal means that now you go backwards from that and pick up all the pieces and set up what you need to learn in order to reach that goal. As you do more research, you may have to revise your goal, but revision doesn't mean you're going to abandon the goal. You're just going to change it up a bit. The cool thing about goals, there's really only two options. Two options. You achieve your goal. That, of course, is the best option. But the only other option is you abandon that goal. But hopefully it's not because you've decided that you don't want to change your career, you don't want to improve your life. Hopefully it's because you've done your research, and because of that, you've changed your goal. You've moved that goal in another direction. Now you've got a new goal. And now you've got two options. You can either achieve that goal or not achieve it. So there's really only two options here when you set a goal, but it's so important to start that process. So what are the different types of career changes? And I mentioned these not because you don't know where you're at, but because everybody's at a different place, and we can take on this information and use some of these services that I'm going to talk about now and in the future. So don't forget that these services are available. Yes, you're looking at it now as information that you need to talk about career changes for yourself. But what if you've made some of these changes and you want to go back and look at this again? So you could be at any point in this process. There's a vertical change from one career to another. This is that corporate ladder, and that's starting entry level usually, and it's an upwardly mobile position. There's typically two different ladders in most of our businesses, all right? There's a management ladder and there's an advisory ladder. The management ladder is the one that leads all the way to the top, either owning the company or being the CEO, CFO, whatever it's going to take to be the one mostly in charge of everything that goes on with the company. The advisory ladder, however, are the experts. Let's say you're not interested in being the boss, but you have a particular interest in, say, IT or sales. You can become the department head of that particular branch of the company, and that's more of an advisory role, but you've gone up that ladder. There's horizontal movement, and this is when we move sideways. Basically, we're moving from one job to another with the same pay, generally the same responsibilities, but it's a sideways move. Sometimes it's within the same company, sometimes it's outside the company, but typically we'll do this if the ladder that we're on is not going in the direction we want it to go. So we're going to make a sideways move and get on a different ladder. Some people actually are able to redesign their job. They have particular skills, so they actually change their current job description to fit their skills. Those skills, they will have, they will realign the job to make sure that the job that they're doing better matches what their skill set is, whether the company needs that job or not is going to depend on what the company's needs are. At some point in your career, you may have to make a decision between work and life. This usually happens when families start having small children, and we have to balance what is going on at home with what is going on at work. And this is considered a career change. You are going to take on less responsibilities so that you can put more of your time and effort at home. There is also just the plain old career change where you completely change your career path. That second career, I mentioned that before. I worked before for the city of Dallas and had an almost 30-year career there in the municipality of Dallas, and decided to go back to my first love, which was the library, and had to change my career. So I retired basically from one job, but wasn't ready to actually stop working. So I got more information, started doing my research, and decided that I can go back to the library system. I'm going back to school now, and I'm working at the Fort Worth Library. So that second career for me is part of my goal. And then I'll mention this, the entrepreneurship, that's where we start our own business. That's not the focus of this, so I'm not going to go into that too much. So some of the services that are available through the Fort Worth Public Library. First and foremost, we're talking about JobNow. So I'm going to go into a lot more detail concerning JobNow. There's the ONet interest profiler, some of the career zone self-assessments. These are all within and available through JobNow. So there's career aptitude tests. I'll be talking about those. The GCF learnfree.org, career preparation classes, webinars like this, presentations. And then obviously we've got a lot of books, both physical books, audio books, ebooks. All of this is going to be available to any resident of Fort Worth that has a library card. So let's start with the self-assessment. Why do we need to start here? Socrates, back in the 10th, or probably before that, but at least by the 10th century, was saying, know thyself, because it's an important first step when you're exploring what you want to do for the rest of your life. You actually know yourself pretty well, probably better than most anybody else. So it's a great place to start on any self-assessment, is to list for your eyes only what you think of as your strengths. This is not the point to start listing what you might consider weaknesses, because we have a general bias. Weaknesses are bad, okay, but not necessarily. What you consider a weakness might not be. You might consider it a weakness that you have a fear of flying, okay, but that's only a problem if you wanted to be a flight attendant or a pilot. For just about any other profession, that's not going to even enter into the problem. So don't start listing weaknesses, just list some of your strengths. So some of the online assessments, most of them are based on what they call the Myers-Briggs type indicator. All right, 2 million plus take this assessment every year. There's another one called the DISC, which stands for the 4 different personality types tested: dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. But the one that most everybody goes back to is the Myers-Briggs type indicator. The Myers-Briggs indicator assessment is available on their personal website. You can pay for that assessment. It's about $49.95. There are a lot of assessments, personality type assessments, available to you through JobNow, and that's going to be for free. So, and they're all based on this template, the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Good thing to remember, it's only as good as the information you give it when you take the test. You still know yourself better than any test, especially an online test, 50, 60 questions. But consider this, your actions are often more accurate reflection of our interests and personality types. All right, not just how you think about something, but your actual actions. And most of the tests tend to gravitate toward questions about how do you act in this situation? So one example I've got, there's a statement. At a party, I usually stand outside the group and don't interact. Okay, so typically when we come across a statement like this, we're thinking back to the last time we were in this situation, what did I do? All right, well, a test question like this is going to ask your response. Do you agree with this statement or do you disagree with this statement? They're not asking you how you feel about parties in general or about the last party you went to, but in general, how do you actually act at the party? And that is what they're testing. They're assessing that. The purpose of this and why this is important, these tests can be used to learn more about yourself, but more specifically, understand more about the way that others see you. And by others, I'm talking about potential employers. All right. So there are, I want to say that statistic I saw was between 20 and 40% of businesses now use a version of the Myers-Briggs personality assessment on new hired employees and during the hiring process. So it's a great place for you to start to find out what information you're going to be giving in potential employers. One personality tool that's available through JobNow is the Jung typology test. It's a 64 question test. You'll receive that 4-letter typed formula, and it leads to more information about your personality type. And I'll get into that in just a minute. I'm going to show you how to get into JobNow here in just a minute. There's also information about for managers and other corporate leaders on how to leverage their personality type to help with their business and manage individuals in a team setting. It's also most useful to supervisors, this being able to mesh personality types in a team setting. But even if you don't currently fit in that category as a supervisor or a manager, it's good information to have for the future, and you can use this information. So some of the online assessments, some employers are using these personality tests in their hiring process. As I gave you that statistic a second ago, it's a really good idea to be aware beforehand what information about yourself you may be sharing with them. Okay, why do they like these tests? Well, they consider tests like this as data-driven. They're objective results rather than subjective based on their emotions or how they perceive you. It's objective, it's numbers on a sheet of paper, and they can easily compare those numbers with other candidates. It helps them decide if you're a good fit with the company, whether your communication styles mesh with other employees, etc. They're looking for traits such as rule following, how easy you become bored, how conscientious you are, how positive you are. So these are all good indicators for them to use when they're assessing, and it may make the difference between hiring one person over another person because their results from this assessment matched what they were looking for. So back to our plan. Now we know a little bit more about ourselves. Now we're going to have to see how that relates to specific jobs and careers. But first, I want to talk about how to get into JobNow. There's two main ways that you can get into it from the main website. All right. When you pull up Fort Worth Library on the main page, you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, I captured it when it had JobNow up at the front, but that's a scrolling thing right underneath the account login information. I'm going to go kind of the long route first because I want to show you some other stuff. But as we get here, remember you have to have a library card. Okay, a resident of Fort Worth can get one for free, but you have to have a library card because you're going to have an account automatically when you get a library card. You will have an account, an online account that you can access. So once you have that library card, we log into our account. Once you log into your account, you have access right here on this ribbon here. I've circled databases. That drops down and shows database access. And this gives it a list of all the databases that are available through the Fort Worth Library that you have access to. And the reason I went this long way to start with was just to kind of show you some of these other databases that we have available. Some of our more popular ones, the genealogy and history. You have access to newspapers and magazines, teaching and education resources. A lot of things available there, but somewhere right in the middle is jobs and careers. If I click on that, there's another list of resources based specifically on the jobs and careers subject heading. And in the middle of that is JobNow. So that's the long route. You're going to log into your account, open up the databases, and find JobNow through the jobs and careers. The short way, right on that same main page, there's tabs above the calendar, and there are services. If we go to the services, on the list is the JobNow service. Okay, so that's 2 steps instead of many, but you wouldn't have seen all those other databases. So now we're at the JobNow service, and this is the main page that you sign in on. All right, here's where you need that barcode number, and that's the number on the back of your library card. Once we enter that, there's your screen. We have resume help, job interview help, and career help. We've got other videos available on YouTube talking about resumes, job interviewing. So I'm going to today talk more about the career side, this last section over here. So one other thing I have to point out, because this is an awesome feature of the JobNow resource that we have available to us, is right up here. And it's usually between 1 p.m. and 10 p.m. But when I captured this screenshot, it said 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. But right up here in the top, they've got the live job coach, and it tells you when they're available. So just think every afternoon and evening, there's going to be a live person that you can chat with to talk about any aspect of your career plan, whether you're starting out and writing your resume or CV, you're doing job interviews, or you need more information about the career assessments, what careers are available, how to go about what kind of education you might need to get into a particular field. So that's what those live job coaches are available for. And also, if you're currently without a job and need help navigating the government's unemployment assistance available, they have experts that can help you there as well. But now I'm going to talk about 3 of the aspects here: the career assessments, the skill surfer, and the e-parachute, which are all listed right down here at the bottom right. So if we start with the career assessments, you'll open that and you'll see a list of career assessment online resources. Now, most of these resources are not created by BrainFuse's JobNow, but they're free to use through there. They've gathered them together, and they're free to use through their website. So once you get to this point, and I'll just talk about a couple of these. The first one being the ONet interest profiler. This one is it's an arm of the U.S. Department of Labor. They offer an astounding array of information. They're kind of a clearinghouse for data on jobs, occupations, but it's through the U.S. government. It actually stands for the Occupational Information Network, and they have a lot of different tools. The main one that they're talking about through JobNow is the ONet interest profiler. Okay, and this is where we're going back to our self-assessment. But this is specifically related to careers. All right, this link within JobNow takes you to that interest profiler assessment. If you take the web-based interest profiler now, just click on that box. This is the first one that comes up when you open up that link. It's going to ask you some generic questions like, how do you feel about building kitchen cabinets or laying brick or tile or developing a new medicine? All right. I like their little emojis that they have right there. So you can, I mean, it's pretty obvious what you have to do. It's between I really hate it to meh to I really love it. So they're going to ask you how you feel about all these things. And at the end of it, and it's 60 questions, you'll see on there, it says 60 questions. It doesn't take a long time, but once you're done, you get a report. And it lists all the different career fields that this particular assessment thinks you might be well suited for because of your likes and your dislikes. One of the other things through ONet that I thought was really interesting, it doesn't immediately pop up, but you'll see once you have access to the ONet Resource Center, you have all of these tabs up here at the top. Well, there's one over here on the right, just that lists the sites. And that's just a drop-down menu that shows you a couple of things. One of the ones that I really liked was called My Next Move. And it kind of walks you through kind of intuitively that whole process. And it lets you look at the different careers by certain keywords. You may already be familiar enough with what you're interested in that you just want to look at all the careers in that particular, with those subject headings. You could browse career by industry, like the one they show, administration and support services. And then the last one is, I'm not really sure. Tell us what you like to do. And that goes back to that interest profiler. But the other cool thing about this is that they have a special version of all these tools, both in Spanish and for our veterans. So if you're a veteran, there's other things that may be available to you because of your veteran status. The next one on that list, on the JobNow list, was the career zone. It's another list of assessments. They have an interest profiler, which is pretty much like the ONet interest profiler. There's a quick assessment that's supposed to be a shorter version of one of these assessment tools. There's a skills profiler that specifically relates to what skills you currently have. And then over here on the far left is the work importance profiler, which I thought was pretty helpful. It would give you a list of important aspects of a particular job and ask you to rank those things, like job security, or you want to be treated fairly in your job, or you want to work in a team setting. And it would make you list those things. And then at the end of that particular assessment, it tells you, okay, well, these are some of the careers. This is what this assessment says are your important values that you place on a particular career, on your job. And because of those values, these are the careers that we think you might be interested in. One other one that's pretty self-explanatory, it says, what career is right for me.com. Now this is, you can go straight to that link, but this is one of the links through the JobNow resource. This particular one is much like all the others, and I'm not saying one's better than the other, but this one, once you go through the interest profiler part, determining what it is that you're interested in and how you're interested in it and what education maybe you have in that or what experience you have, then it gives you a list of careers that might be interesting to you, but then it also has a link here that shows you job listings in your area for that particular job. So you can actually click on that and it will pull up a database of jobs that show, and they're current jobs too, currently available. The other thing about that, it might, if more education is needed for you to do a particular job it shows that you're interested in, it will show you what schools that are actually teaching that in the area that might help you find it. One last one on this part of it is the e-parachute. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but back in the 70s, I think it was 1972, the book, What Color is Your Parachute, came out. And just about every year since then, it's been an annual publication that's come out, and many, many different branches off of that main idea have come about since that book was first published. But every year they update it for new jobs, new technology, and print the book out. Well, this is the online version of What Color is Your Parachute, and it's taking that same concept and just making it a little bit more accessible on the computer. One of the, it's like I said, this is Richard Nelson Bowles' book, What Color is Your Parachute? It requires you to log in with your JobNow credentials, and it has numerous tests like the ones that I'm showing you there that discover people, fields, and skills, create personalized career ideas, and then explore those job details. There's a strong emphasis in the e-parachute and the books and on the website with knowing your abilities. All right, the whole concept here is that if you know what your strengths are, what you have to offer to an employer, and they need those, then you're doing both of you a favor by getting that job that helps match your careers. All right, you're going to work better and harder at a job that you like, that fits your career skills, rather than in a job that you just don't feel strongly about one way or the other, or it ignores your skill sets. So that will benefit both employers and employees. So that's the whole philosophy there. Now, this isn't through JobNow, it's through EBSCO Learning Express, which is also available to you through those same databases. But the EBSCO Learning Express has a couple of assessments. There's called the Interest Matcher and the Skills Matcher. They can give you information about careers you might be well suited for as well. It's mostly tests and then respond, you know, the results of the tests. But that's available as well. Other tools that you might find that are available outside the library, of course, career coaches. These are people that make a living helping people find their perfect job. Okay, that job that they're well suited for. They also remember that JobNow provides that service. They have live career coaches available to answer your questions, generally between 1 p.m. and 10 p.m. So just think in the afternoon and the evening, there's going to be somebody that you could chat with online that can give you encouragement or more information about one of the services that JobNow provides, or they can look over your resume and give you pointers on how to improve it. Do you need a job coach? Not necessarily. If you know you're going to be a veterinarian, then you know pretty much exactly what you need to do. You need to go to school. You need to get a job in a vet, in an animal setting. And there you are. You don't need a coach to tell you that. But there are so many different careers and so many different jobs out there that having that access to a coach might be very beneficial to you. And I can't go any further without talking about transferable skills, because we're talking about skills and knowing your own skills, knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at. Transferable skills, this is one of those most important topics that they're talking about online a lot. Any career coach is going to talk to you about your transferable skills. These are those innate skills that people have that they learned at home, or they learned it at school, or they even learned at an entry-level job somewhere. You can show proficiency and experience outside your current position. So the key here is if you can recognize those skills and recognize their importance, you can utilize those skills in various roles. Some of the examples of transferable skills: time management. All right, this could apply to any parent out there with more than one child, okay, or with one child in a career. These are going to be you managing the times that your child needs to be from one place to another. Even if you don't have children, if you're going to school or have gone through school, you had to do some time management. You had to decide what was important between different projects, between your free time, between eating and sleeping. All of that requires a level of time management that can be used as a transferable skill. Creativity, this is a pretty broad topic, okay, but and it can be shown in many different ways. You can be musically creative, artistic, the written word, communication. All of these things can show a level of creativity that some jobs are going to benefit from if you can show that you have that skill. People skills, another broad topic, but it is how you talk to other people. All right, it's how in general you demonstrate that you like other people and that you can deal with other people both in regular situations and in maybe more stressful situations. So those people skills are going to be important. Adaptability, another big word that they use to show that you can take a bad situation and make it better, or take change and rather than look down on it and try to fight it, use that change to your advantage. All right, adapting to a situation that changes over time is a very beneficial skill to have. Leadership, another big topic. This can be shown in a lot of different ways, whether you're at school or at a job. Even if you don't have a position of leadership, if you have taken a leadership role in any situation, say at your church, at school, in a particular club setting, just being able to articulate the time that you needed to show that you were in charge and that because of your leadership, things went in the correct direction. Communication is both written and oral. Some of the best ways to show are a well-written resume, a cover letter. In your interview itself, you can express and demonstrate good communication skills with your prospective employers. So this one shows pretty obviously right from the get-go to anybody looking to hire you. If you have a good, well-written resume, if you do a good interview, they will be able to see that. But you also want to show that you have experience in the past using those good communication skills. So transferable skills are extremely powerful once you understand their worth. They allow you to show your prospective employers that even though you've never had a job in the field, you can do the job because of these skills, the expertise, and the experience. Big thing here, though, you really have to start thinking about those transferable skills before the interview. All right, it's too late once they ask you, give us an example of a time when you handled when you showed leadership in a situation. At that point during the interview, if you're having to think too long, then you're showing them that nothing is really coming to mind quickly. So think about these skills, think about what you have done in the past that can show a particular skill, a level of skill that would be helpful to the job. You want to list those examples for yourself. And luckily, most experiences can demonstrate multiple transferable skills. All right, I thought of an example for myself at a time when I was in school, and this would have been quite a while ago, but the leader of the club that I was in had to take a leave of absence because of health reasons. and everybody else got to step in and take over that role of leadership for a particular time period. I was going to be responsible for a particular event that was taking place. And so I had to show leadership in that event by telling other people how to what to do. And it included all sorts of different things, including the leadership portion. I had to cooperate with new people that I hadn't normally been working with. Teamwork is always an aspect, planning, time management, crisis management, adaptability, public speaking, etc. I mean, so many different skills that you're not going to see come up on a particular job announcement as saying you have to have this skill, but it's going to come up and you're going to need to be able to show that you have these skills. So we're getting here toward the end, and I'm going to sum up some of the stuff I wanted to say to y'all. If you're planning on a big career change, start with an assessment of yourself. Okay, we've got tools through JobNow, such as that ONet that I talked about, the career zone, what career is right for me, etc. So start with an assessment of yourself, start looking at potential careers, start doing some research, find out if that assessment truly matches your interest, do a little research on a job. And the library obviously is a great place to do research. Stay open to some new ideas. Don't dismiss a job or career suggestion too soon. All right, having a plan is going to be really important too. So if you can visualize an outcome, that's going to be a great starting point. Keep reviewing that plan on a regular basis. List those strengths, list those skills that you would consider transferable skills. Be prepared for questions in an interview that might ask you to give an example of when you used your great oral communication skills or your leadership skills. Try to list things from your experience. Multiple skills can be demonstrated by the same event. Networking, which is just a fancy way of saying you're talking to people. This is an important tool that you can use. If you know somebody already working in a field you're interested in or you're doing some research on, ask questions. And if they know somebody they can refer you to that they're willing to talk about it, ask for help there as well. Join associations. Most occupations have a local, state, or national group that represents the workers in that field. Find them online, which requires more research. Think about joining their groups. Most of them have reduced rates, especially for newcomers. This is where you'll get a lot of up-to-date information about that career, and most of the organizations have access to job hunting tools that are specific to their career. You can also search LinkedIn, and we have access to a resource called LinkedIn Learning that we may be talking about a little later this summer. But LinkedIn is a great place to do research on what actual people are doing actual jobs. You find out what their career path is because most of the LinkedIn profiles show you what classes or what majors they took in school, which schools they went to. And so it gives you a lot of really good information if you're willing to go into that. You can reach out to them individually if they have a public profile and get more information directly from them too. Always try to gain more experience, and every experience can be beneficial to you in your career, okay? If you find a career you like, you may need to do more training. There may have to be more education. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to get an advanced degree. Maybe you just need to take a few classes that are specifically tailored to your needs. Consider volunteering or take an entry-level job in that field. Volunteering is a great way to show that you have an interest in something and that you're willing to spend your own personal time doing it. All right, so If it does represent a complete career change for you, you've had a career for a while and now you're making a change, you must plan for a short-term drop in income. Okay, that can either come from the fact that you're going to be working less on a career you've been doing for a while and doing more time on a career you haven't been doing a while, so in generally pays less, or you may be spending time and money on education, furthering your education and training in that particular field. Either way, that's more money out of your pocket. Some of the things that I've noticed, people appreciate something that they've worked for themselves. We have a lot of available resources through the Fort Worth Library that you have access to basically free of charge. It comes with your residency here in the city of Fort Worth. We have JobNow, we have LinkedIn Learning, we have all these other resources that are available to you. But you have to do the work. You have to take the time to go to that resource, take those assessment tests, write down your career interests, and make that career plan yourself. Nobody can do that for you. So as you go through this process, use what you learn. Wherever you are in your journey, the Fort Worth Library is here to help you. I can't stress that enough. We have a lot of resources available. We have a lot of staff available that really want to see you succeed. Don't put limits on yourself. Consider all your options and keep notes. Invest in a nice little notebook or journal that you can put your career plan in and track your progress. Regularly review it and make sure you're making the progress that you want to make in a timely way. And you really are worth it, okay? Your future is worth the time and effort you put into it. You can have that better job. You can get that different career. You can do something that you love because of your unique set of skills and experiences. And the library obviously wants to be there to help you get through that process. And that is all I have.
All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any questions. So thank you,
All right.
Blake, and thank everybody for attending. And like Blake said, we did record this. It takes about a week or so before the recording is posted on our YouTube channel. But once it's posted, you can share it with anyone you want to. So thank you very much and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.